Na 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 na. Okay, I can't sing worth a crap. Whatever. This is Anaris. It is Sunday, October 17th, 2010. Today we have a 1 versus 1 on Lost Temple. iNcontroL spawning as the blue Protoss at the 9 o'clock position. And then we have Lag. JimDiddy. Lag is not part of his name, just JimDiddy. Spawning as Zerg in the 6 o'clock position. So, iNcontroL, he's a super cool guy. I actually had the opportunity to meet him at the midnight release for Wings of Liberty and GameStop up in Oregon City area. So, pretty good stuff there. I don't think he lives around there. I just know that's where he happened to have to go for that one. So, anyways, awesome stuff. Really cool guy. Hangs out on Team Liquid. See him there all the time. Pretty well-known player. Down here, JimDiddy. Don't know too terribly much about him. I did see his name floating around the internet a good bit, but don't have too terribly much background info on him. So, looking forward to see, actually, this is my first time watching him, so looking forward to see what he brings to the table, as we do have a drone kind of doubling back here. Probably set the rally point a little bit too early for wherever he was going to send that. So, meanwhile, iNcontroL is running around here scouting. I would think that if he saw the Overlord, he probably would go the other way, but maybe he just didn't see it. Bad streak of luck or something, whatever, I don't know. As JimDiddy is indeed throwing down a hatchery before his spawning pool. Hatchery did go down at 14 supply. And iNcontroL does have a forge and a pylon at the base of his ramp. So, I think iNcontroL now... can't talk. I think iNcontroL now realized that because of the Overlord, which is now hanging out directly over the forge and the pylon, Zerg is at the 6 o'clock, so he's going to send his probe down, and we may see him try to put a pylon at the base of the ramp. You can see that the probe is attacking the drone as we speak, so right now it's looking like the probe is going to win that if the drone doesn't run, and the drone is going to run, but he does die indeed anyways, so another drone was here to take its place. Again, trying to prevent the pylon from being placed down at the base of the ramp. And what iNcontroL is doing right now is he's actually going to try to make a push on this hatchery. He's may try to bait out this drone, block off the ramp, and make a solid push in the hatchery. You can see that he was saving money for this expansion. He had a probe right here, and he was just waiting for the 400, but he sent his other probe down here, and he saw that he had to take this opportunity if he wanted to stop this expansion before it popped. You can see it just did pop. There are 5 drones down here trying to attack the cannons. And we've got a cannon here, pylon here, cannon here, and a cannon here, and another pylon. So, this ramp is now blocked off. However, like I said, the hatchery is done, so reinforcements can be had from down here at the base of the ramp, which you can see 2 Zerglings are heading out as we speak. So, I think with the drones and the Zerglings combined, there is going to be enough damage here down at the base of the ramp to knock out these cannons, which is really going to be a problem for iNcontroL because he, like I said earlier, he invested his expansion money into try to making this work, and I don't think it paid for itself. So, it's going to be up to iNcontroL to make a strong recovery, as he now has quite a few Zerglings coming in literally on his tail with this probe. A couple of them backing off, so that's going to buy him some time. But the expansion has gone down. Photon cannon going down. Pretty good placement. Might need another building right here. The problem is, though, if JimDiddy responds quickly enough, he can just get a run by and go all the way around. And I think he would have enough Zerglings to make it up here and do some considerable damage to the probes, which are currently mining in his base. We might see a run by here. Maybe he is going around. Will he make it? I think he will, although he is going to double back and go for the cannon instead. He's thinking he's going to be able to take out this expansion right here. iNcontroL is going to respond by bringing off a lot of his probes. Really, it's the only move he has to do at the moment. He's trying to buy some time so that way this gateway can finish, the cannon can finish, get out a zealot, and push these Zerglings back. You can see that even though iNcontroL is taking heavy losses on these probes, his income is going to be severely hampered by this. You can already see that there's a 300 or so mineral per minute gap on this. The cannon is complete though. The zealot is on the way, just about complete, and there's 4 Zerglings coming up here. And I'm not sure why JimDiddy decided to go for the refinery instead of the probes, but He's probably thinking, there's so few Zerglings left in that attack, really not worth it, as he is sending up 4 additional Zerglings. One of them is indeed going to die, 2 of them dead, so now that attack's over. Both players are probably going to sit back and macro up a little bit, as iNcontroL has got to build up his income some. You can see that he is currently boosting out probes from both of his Nexi, whatever, right now. And he, meanwhile, Jim is trying to clear out these pylons, which are kind of infecting his base a little bit. I don't really know how you can infect a Zerg base, but whatever. iNcontroL figured out how to do it, so that's indeed, I guess, how he rolls. Meanwhile, there are a couple more drones being transferred down here, as both players are just going to take this time, build up their forces, and probably see some tech action. As I don't think either player is in a really good position to push at the moment. Of course, you've got a spine crawler going down here. That'll take off any units that are going to come in the next couple minutes, combined with some Zerglings, which, Jim can easily build up. So, I think that would be a great time to take a look at the APM. I don't know why, but it is. You can see that right now they're actually almost exactly the same. 2 points off, so pretty good stuff there. Both players keeping themselves entertained as the game does go into kind of a slower pace for the moment. Of course, JimDiddy is sending Zerglings up here to the Xel'Naga watchtowers, keeping an eye on the middle of the map, as for the most part that's where all the action would take place in the next couple minutes, as neither player really has a whole lot to work with. I think that JimDiddy is in a little bit better position right now because his economy was not damaged nearly as much as iNcontrol's. Of course, having to bring those probes off of the mineral line to defend while the cannon and zealot build. However, taking a look down at JimDiddy, he is throwing up 2 evolution chambers and a roach warren. His lair is complete now, so we may see a heavy roach play. He is actually researching both the Overlord speed and the transport ability. That'll be kind of interesting to see how he pulls that off, if he is indeed going to go for an Overlord drop. Because right now it's looking like iNcontroL is going to be going a very gateway heavy build. Of course, he has 4 of them building in. I'm sorry, 3 building in his base right now. 1 already complete and building sentries, and then he of course has another one out here with Warp Gate technology on the way, as well as Weapons 1. So, depending on the iNcontrol's unit composition, he may be able to very easily drive this off, especially with some good force field placements. However, you can take a look at the evolution chambers. JimDiddy is getting both Weapons 1 and Armor 1 upgrade for his roaches, as well as the movement speed upgrade. So, he will be in a pretty good position to do some damage if they are dropped in the right spot, and if he can catch iNcontroL out of position. He might try to fake out iNcontroL by attacking the natural. It looks like it is fairly vulnerable to an attack. You can see that the units are there right now, but if iNcontroL can be baited out of his base, a couple roaches get in here, try to do some damage, maybe a burrowed attack, come around here and attack the gas. We'll just have to see. As you can see, there are more Overlords lining up right now to possibly be loaded up, as the upgrades are now complete, both the speed and the capacity upgrade. So, at this point, I am kind of anxiously waiting to see what happens, as iNcontroL certainly does have a lot of sentries. So I think he will be in a pretty good position to deal with this if he is around his base to catch the drop wherever it may land. I'm guessing it's going to be up in the main somewhere, because if you look, it's not really that well defended, not really a lot of vision on the outer skirts, whereas right here, I mean, it's pretty well solidified. He'll know what's coming. Sure enough, there is the drop getting ready to happen right here. Several Overlords loaded up, all with roaches, it looks like, except for the front 2, which are going to take a majority of the damage from the cannon. Roaches are going down. They're going to start DPSing down the cannon. I don't think that's going to live very long. Of course, iNcontroL realized what's going on, so he was able to pull his probes, drop them off as natural, and bring his forces up here. You can see he's continuing to warp in more. However, one thing I'm not too sure about is why JimDiddy decided not to focus down the Nexus first. He went for the gas. He also knocked out 2 gateways, one of which I understood. He needed to get in there. But the second one, I really think he should have took out the Nexus first. But there is another engagement here. You can see that the force fields are in place. They're definitely doing a number for the roaches. You can see that iNcontroL is doing a very great job of, excuse the pun, you're going to hate me, he's in control. of the situation. Oh god, I'm sorry. But it's very true, because you can see he did a very good job of keeping the roaches separated from the bulk of their forces, only having to deal with a couple of them at a time. So very good micro there, as the Zerg player just didn't have any other units to get around the force fields to deal with that. So you can see down here in Zerg's base, he is continuing to build more roaches, as well as weapons 2, armor 2 for these units. And I think that's all that's really going on right now. You can see that an expansion is being dropped at the high yield. And looking at the economy again, once again, iNcontroL definitely hurting on the money. Of course, very obviously, or a very obvious reason why, his Nexus is gone. And he's having to long-distance mine with some of his probes because he was way oversaturated down here. You can see for the most part it's sitting pretty good. A couple more probes than he needs, but that's a debate for another day. So anyways, both players are just going to macro up again, and I think right now Zerg is in a tiny bit better position because, like I said, he's able to stay on the offensive. He's keeping iNcontroL very much on the defensive here. Of course, his units are kind of patrolling back and forth. However, I don't really think iNcontroL is incorrect in doing that, because, you know, he is building a Dark Shrine, so he's trying to tech up a little bit. But he's not in the best position to be on the offense. And sure enough, here comes another drop of roaches in the back of iNcontrol's base, who I don't think from this position can see that. No, he can now, so he is aware of the fact that it's coming. What are you doing, probes? Wrong way! Oh man, so many probes died just now that did not have to. I think that was a mismicro by iNcontroL, probably trying to send his units away and then send his attacking units on an attack command down south. Maybe it's a mismicro, I don't know, as several force fields did go down. However, a considerable number of roaches are able to get in here and do some damage. You can see that the front line is indeed withering away for the Protoss player. However, he does have enough ranged units down at the base of the ramp to whittle down this force and take it out before it really does any permanent damage to the base up top. And this one little roach hero, he was trying to do his job, but unfortunately his job ended up dying in the mineral line. Or gas line, rather. So anyways, there goes the Overlords retreating back to their base. Of course, iNcontroL is going to try to snipe off one or two of them. He did get one, almost got another, but unfortunately didn't really have too much of an effect. As you can see, the supply, of course, JimDiddy is sitting pretty good right now in terms of the supply count. As you can see, there is actually a DT harassment up at the high yield expansion, and another one running along right here. Of course, JimDiddy sees this, and he is building the Overseers very quickly, and I think this DT is going to be the wrong spot at the wrong time, and there he goes. So this DT, however, is going to live a little bit longer. He's actually going to flirt with the Queen a little bit, push her off the creep, try to take her back to his place, and here comes the Overseer getting all jealous up in here. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, yeah, that guy does indeed die, as even the drone gets in on this, man. Everybody wants to see that go down, as the Queen indeed die. So Protoss is actually moving out on the offensive now. He's actually in a pretty good position to do so, because he was able to completely drive away that roach attack and come out with a large number of his forces still intact. So he is moving out, getting some map control, throwing down a couple pylons here at the famous Pylo spot. Unfortunately, this is not Pylo, but this is the iNcontroL substitute for the pylon. Meanwhile, down in the Zerg base, he is switching up the Hydras a little bit. Pretty good move to counter the Stalkers, and especially good move since it is taking advantage, of course, of the 2-2 upgrades that were purchased for the Roaches. So good move there. And there is kind of a probe transfer up to the high yield minerals, which is just about complete. Warp in there in just a second. One very nice thing that iNcontroL is doing is he's actually getting a robotics facility. I really think that a couple Colossi or a couple Immortals will really do a number for the Zerg forces, and I really hope that, you know, iNcontroL can get that out in time, because Zerg is looking to maybe make a push here in the near future, and depending on how the force field placement goes, which you can see there aren't any sentries out right now, I think that could spell trouble. Although iNcontroL does have the blink technology research now, so he could be in a pretty good position. I think it could go either way at this point. It just depends on the placement of the players, you know, whether or not the Zerg can really catch iNcontroL off guard. So we might see an engagement here in the near future as both players are dancing back and forth here, trying to get an expansion using the DT as a diversion. Meanwhile, the iNcontroL is moving his main forces in to the Zerg base. However, the Zerg did see that and responded back as the DT did go off and head back towards the 3 o'clock base. And a couple overlords here hanging out, just making sure nothing's going on up at the top of the map, no expansions or whatnot. And we do indeed have 2 robotics facility. However, iNcontroL is supply blocked currently. So that'll be rectified in just a minute, I'm sure, as we do have several pylons going down, as well as the extended thermal lance upgrade being researched. About a quarter of the way done for that. Meanwhile, Zerg is actually getting a Spire, so we might see some meter harassment. Although I think it's kind of unlikely because of the Blink Stalkers, and also the fact that this Twilight Council is down, so we could pretty easily do a switch over and get some High Templars. More than likely, we're going to see some Corruptors here, and I'm just going to have to see what exactly happens because we do have an Observer here now. However, with two robotics facilities invested into the map, you're going to most likely see either Colossus or Immortal. Sure enough, several Colossi taken to the field right now, which actually I think will be very good against the Hydralisk army, which you can see is actually the bulk of the forces now. There are enough Roaches to tank for the Hydras, but with the extended thermal lance, it's not really going to matter. The Blink Stalkers will be able to tank, blink away, keep doing damage, and force fields will be able to throw them down and keep the Roaches at bay. Although, on the other hand, if the Zerg player does manage to catch the Protoss out of position, again, he may be able to do a lot of damage, maybe even a Nidus network up here, just a surprise attack, catch the Protoss off guard with a Nidus, drop it, say, right here, hit him, go in, drop another one, and just pretty much just try to make the Protoss run around and be everywhere that the Zerg cannot be, as Zerg do indeed have pretty good mobility when it comes to stuff like the Nidus Canal and whatnot. So anyways, we do see a couple Corruptors here, very good for taking out the Colossus units, which now are on the field. We do have 3 Colossi at the present time. Of course, the Overlord here sees this, and this Overlord, he's still hanging out, man. He is a champ indeed. He can see that the robotics bay was dropped, so that's most likely how he knew the fact that we were going to see some Colossi take to the field, just the fact that he was able to see this robotics bay out of the corner of the Overlord vision. You can see that there are quite a few Corruptors here, as well as an Overseer, probably looking to snipe any units that he can, as we do have the rest of the forces coming out here, trying to get a flank on iNcontroL. You can see both armies are moving into position here. I'm not sure this is going to work out because it's in a wide open area. There go the force fields. Corruptors are trying to do some damage. However, there are plenty of Colossi here. The problem is the force fields were put down, so all of those Roaches are just running around confused while the Colossi do the damage to the Hydras. It's terrible. And there, see, sure enough, there they go. The Hydras are just being decimated by the Stalkers now and mopped up by the Colossus. And the Corruptors, they don't have anything to do, man. There's 2 of them left, and there's a whole bunch of Stalkers on their tail. So they're going to head back. I think Zerg is really in trouble now because he just is not going to be able to field units quick enough if the Protoss player does decide to attack, which it looks like now he's actually going to fall back a little bit. So maybe he's not feeling as confident as I thought he was. I'm not too sure. He is building up a couple more units, though. Not chrono boosting it out or anything. I think he has enough energy. He's been pretty good about chrono boosting for most of the game. So it looks like the Zerg player is actually fielding Ultralisks. They do have 2 armor upgrade. Doesn't have the specialist or the specialized armor upgrade for the Ultralisk. So this will be interesting. The thing is, I'm not sure this is going to be enough to push through. It'll definitely be enough to handle any force fields that come in, so the Zerglings will be able to get in. But with the combination of the Stalkers and the Colossus and the force fields placed, and now taking a look, we can see that there are more Colossus taking to the field now. It's anybody's guess as what's going to happen in this next match. I'm honestly looking forward to it. See what is going to happen. As you can see, there is a Warp Prism trying to drop some DTs here. The thing is, iNcontroL, this is actually a key moment for iNcontroL because now he knows that these Ultras are going to be on the way very quickly in the very near future, as well as one happy little Muta there. He must be proud of himself. He's kind of watching things go down, as we do have a Spine Crawler at the expansion, as well as a, what do you call it, Spore Crawler. Spore Crawler, yes, I always want to call them Spore Colonies. So, Anyways, the key thing to note here is now iNcontroL is actually switching from Colossi to Immortals, and he's going to pull back just a little bit, try to buy a little bit more time, so that way these Immortals can get out. You can see 1, 2, both have taken to the field, and they're going to do a ton of damage to the Ultras, as they are indeed armored units. And of course, with the 2 damage upgrade, they're going to be doing 60 damage per hit, and with the specialized shields, they're just going to chew through the Ultras. That just wasn't even fair for the Ultralisks. I'm so sorry for them. And of course, we do have the Archons as well, which do the extra damage to the biological units as well. So, at this point, I'm not sure what's going to happen. If Protoss makes a push, he may take it, since he has so many units that are just excel at taking out these Ultras, which seem to be what JimDiddy is focusing on. Ultras, and of course the Corruptors, and the hero Mutalisk. Jerry the Mutalisk, that's his name. So, the Protoss is indeed going to make a push down here. Of course, the Zerg player is going to try to run away, try to buy this time, maybe get some more units, but this is exactly the position that iNcontroL wants to be in at the moment. He's taking the Zerg just before he was able to get the reinforcements, so he was able to deal with half of the army first, half of it later, walks right over it. Here comes the extra Ultra. Just that wasn't even fair for him. So now I'm guessing that's probably what we're going to have as a GG from JimDiddy, because it looks like he's just doing some personal reflection. You know, the Roaches did work out pretty well, but I'm not sure it is a, you know, as an all-in. But, you know, whatever. I mean, like I said, you've got to experiment, you've got to try stuff out. And in this case, I think that iNcontroL definitely came back from what I thought was going to be a loss if the Zerglings had run by and done some damage to the probes down in the, or up in the top of his base. But like I said, iNcontroL was able to take the game with an impressive comeback, and so yeah, there's GG's from iNcontroL and JimDiddy. Very good players, good manner, good times. As you can see, the Protoss player, they're just kind of steamrolling through now, and yeah, so this game's pretty much over. I hope you liked it, and so yeah. Oh, that song in the beginning, Katamari Damacy. Go play it. Check it out. You can actually get it for Xbox and PS2. It's good stuff. I promise you, it's worth every penny of it. And no, I'm not being paid to say this stuff. I find that sharing awesome stuff that I find, generally people like that stuff. So, anyways, I hope you guys like the game, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.